Hello, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be joined today with a terrific set of CEOs and top executives in an amazing group of companies. So we have a lot of ground to cover, so I am going to go straight into our questions for this terrific team today. So the first question is for everybody, actually, has to do with the reasons why you sponsored the Hispanic Promise and the Hispanic Star initiatives that we are celebrating today. Could you please give us just a sense of why was this important and what it meant for you personally and for your company? Let me start then with David. Could we start with you, David?
Sure, absolutely. You know, at Yum Brands, we've got 1.5 million employees in 150 countries around the world. In the United States, we have 400,000 employees. Those employees are over-indexed on underrepresented minorities, particularly Hispanic. So the people in our restaurants, more than half the people in our restaurants are in that category. Our customers over-index in the Hispanic category. I mean, our business is very much a part of the Hispanic community, from our employees to our customers, and nothing could be more important than us than making sure that we create opportunities for them to advance within our system and do the right thing by our consumers and build our brands the way that the brands they want to frequent. So we have a huge commitment, and that cuts across all aspects of diversity, inclusion, gender, obviously, underrepresented minorities, LGBTQ+, you name it.
Thank you, David. Marissa, you work for another major CPG company. What does it mean for you guys?
Yes, and at Frito-Lay, we have been dedicated to championing diversity and inclusion for many years now. But in particular, the Hispanic Star initiative is a shining light. It means a lot to us at PepsiCo and Frito-Lay, and it means a lot to me personally. Unlike other D&I initiatives, I think it is so unique in that it really shines a light on our community. It really talks about the magic that every single Latino possesses, and it focuses on the positive. It's full of possibilities, and this is the kind of spirit and initiative that we love to support and participate, because it is the kind of spirit that we have at Frito-Lay North America.
Fantastic. Mike, what it meant for you?
Yeah, so for me, it's very personal. I had the opportunity to stand on the shoulders of my father, who came to the U.S. alone as an 11-year-old boy from Cuba, and through a lot of hard work and scratching and clawing and trailblazing, paid his own way to college, got a master's degree at night, had a very successful career as an executive in a couple of public companies, breaking glass ceilings as he went. So I've had it easy with a role model, a mentor, a best friend that I could always count on from the time that I was a boy. But to me, the Hispanic Star program is about role modeling and amplifying the experience of those who came before us, and to help those coming after us to learn, and for the broader community who are first generation to accomplish something new, whatever that something is, and take a different path to a brighter future. It's one of the reasons that I'm so proud, as well as engaged and supportive of our diversity and inclusion program at IBM, as I feel an obligation to help others who didn't have the benefits that I've had. And for us at IBM, our involvement in Hispanic Star is a symbol of our commitment to action now, as well as well into the future, whether it's talent advancement or mentorship or access to education or financial empowerment or enabling a culture where all employees feel they belong, they're valued, and they've got a voice.
Fantastic. Richard, I have met you over many years, and you have a unique perspective because you work with the Fortune 500 companies, many of them. What it means to you and what you see that it means for Edelman and for your clients?
Jose Luis, for us, we had to graduate from having a Hispanic as a sort of specialty unit where clients would ask us, please, can you do a marketing campaign to that community, to making Hispanics leaders in our company. And that's why I signed the promise. The person who's running Texas for us now is a Hispanic. I have Anna Cheppy, who's come from Univision, so that she can advise Unilever and other big brands on how to, do this. And we want our campaigns also to be saying, we have a great Hispanic chef who can talk to everybody. So we've done this for the dairy industry, and this guy is incredible. So it's been like a light bulb for us, a catalyst to change. And I can't tell you how powerful it is among the Hispanics at Edelman to say, we are seen, we are valued, and we are growing.
D&I is a topic that started as a good thing to do for the communities, a value piece, but it has been moving more and more as a key part of the business strategy, as you all have painted. In the current circumstances, in this special year, D&I has taken a new relevance, a lot more visibility and initial commitment. This is a question mainly for, we can start with Richard and maybe we can touch with Mike too. Do you see that the current momentum coming behind D&I is sustainable? Do you think it will cross that line to become a core part of the company's strategies? And what should be done to maintain that momentum if that starts to lose steam?
So, Jose Luis, we do the Trust Barometer every year, and we did 2 studies actually of America with African Americans, Asians, and Hispanics. And what we found is that, in fact, companies that stand up and speak up on behalf of the Hispanic community gain 5 times more trust in terms of their reputation. Also, that it gives you 45% of Hispanics said, I am more inclined to buy brands for those brands who do stand for us. So on both counts, you have to do it. It's clear mandate.
And I would say, for IBM, we're an innovation company that solves the hardest problems in the world for business as well as society. And our employees are our competitive advantage. And we know from different studies as well as our own history that innovation happens and flourishes with diversity of perspectives, diversity of experience, diversity of functions, and that those people excel when they feel like they've got the ability to bring themselves, their full selves, to work from wherever their background, whatever their heritage, whatever their comfort zone is. And when they're heard, they're respected, they're valued, that's when they perform. So we've seen a shift certainly from the command and control days to one where the most effective mode of leadership is really to leverage a collective wisdom of those around you. And if everybody around you looks the same and acts the same and has the same experiences, then you lose that benefit as you go. So, for us, we see it every day in our offices, in our labs, working with our clients. And it's very clear to us that this is not a one-time shot and it's going to go away, but if anything, it's gaining steam day by day by day.
It's great how you highlight that diversity drives innovation. Richard says it drives trust in your company. We know that also elevates the employees' engagement and the reputation in the communities. And this is a question for David and Marissa. You work for major CPG companies, millions of consumers every day. Could you give us a couple of examples of the best initiatives you have experienced that are driving a transformation in the workplace to embrace more diversity and inclusion?
Sure, Jose Luis, I can start. And you said it. I think D&I being part of the business imperative of a company is absolutely critical, because it's not about just doing the right thing. It is also about ROI. And when you do it right, you see the ROI and you can measure the impact. I can tell you, for us at PepsiCo, when it becomes part of the holistic business strategy, it works and it mobilizes people, and it mobilizes a diverse group of people. So I'll give you a couple of examples. One that started about 3.5 years ago, we made a commitment at PepsiCo to start a Hispanic business unit, and we dedicated 100% Hispanic resources across all functions to the success of our products and our services, specifically with our Hispanic community. It's been 3 years. It started in beverages. It is now at Frito-Lay North America. And the impact we have made, not just to the community, but to our sales, has been absolutely tremendous. As another example that came out of that, Hispanic is now part of our holistic brand strategy. It is not a separate exercise. As Richard said, sometimes, companies do it as a separate exercise. This is part of the mainstream brand strategy. Just a month ago, our Cheetos brand partnered with Bad Bunny, and we made a commitment for a year for a program called Deja Tu Huella, all about Latinos leaving their mark. And we announced the partnership not in a Latin billboard or not in a Latin perspective. We announced it at the American Music Awards, because Hispanic culture is mainstream culture. We announced it, and we partnered and sponsored for the first time ever 4 new categories at the AMAs, awarding and recognizing Hispanic artists in music. And that is, something we're very proud of, because again, Hispanic culture is mainstream culture. You asked about why we believe, all of this momentum will sustain. It is because it's becoming part of our culture, and it will be here to stay. So those are two very good examples we're very proud of at PepsiCo.
Awesome examples. Thank you, Marissa. David?
Jose Luis, I started with our company 31 years ago as in a very junior role, and have had the good fortune for the company to invest in me every step in the way in my development to get to the point where earlier this year I became the CEO of Yum. The company invested in me reaching my potential. I start with, we have to have programs all around the company to get everybody to reach their potential, regardless of their color, of their skin color, or anything else about them. We all have potential, and I've always felt very passionate about making sure we create an environment at Yum for people to realize that. As I mentioned earlier, our restaurants already have that environment in them. They're incredibly diverse. Our challenge is to take the restaurant environment and make sure our franchisees above the restaurants, our team leaders above the restaurants reflect that diversity. So there's a myriad number of programs that we are involved in to make that happen. But one I'll highlight for you that we just announced this year, which was a personal passion of mine, is the Unlocking Opportunity Initiative. This is an external facing program. Some of you may have heard about it. We made a $100 million commitment across a variety of areas. The 3 key ones are education, which we've been doing for many years, providing educational opportunities for our team members, raising tens of millions of dollars for them to further themselves and realize their potential. We have an entrepreneurship path where we want to be able to take those team members and get them to the point where they are restaurant owners. We actually have franchisees that started working in the first Pizza Hut in the world. They started there, 60-something years ago, and they're still in our system. We can create those pathways for entrepreneurs of all colors to realize their potential. And then, of course, equity and inclusion. We're all about equity and inclusion. We've rolled out inclusiveness training above restaurants to all of our leaders. We're going to roll that out in the restaurants so that we do training to 1.5 million people all around the world. But I would say that there's really, for this to work for us, it's a whole suite of programs. There are internal programs that we conduct for our team. There are external commitments we make. Then there are partnerships like the Hispanic Promise, the CEO Action for Diversity. I could go on and on listing all the things we do, sponsoring the Women's Food Service Forum, just to show our commitment to diversity across all the different ways it plays out.
In doing that holistic approach really proves that it's a business strategy, not a makeup initiative in a special corner near your heart, you know?
Yeah, well, I think it's important for us, for everybody to see us as an ally, that we have an important role here to play. I'm here to learn today because that's part of being an ally, but I'm also here to use Yum's platform to help in any way because we have a big platform and we can amplify messages from organizations like these. And then I'm also here, because I want to be very visible to my organization about the support, because that's how we make sure that everybody understands everybody can succeed in our organization.
That's awesome. As you were speaking, you reminded me of one case in my career in one event at PepsiCo. We invited Colin Powell to talk to the group. And he said, you know what? When I cross a bridge in New York, I see that Pepsi Cola sign, very old there. And he said, I worked in that plant as a janitor. And so the theme of the conference became, how can we empower our janitors to become commanders of the U.S. force? So it's just amazing examples when you give opportunities, David, as you are describing, what you can harvest is tremendous. Maybe just touching on a different angle of your experience, how much of your business do you think in the next 5 years in the USA will come from the Hispanic consumer? Let's say Marissa, David, please.
Yes, for us, it's a very large portion, Jose Luis, and that's one of the reasons we committed to this, 3.5 years ago. In beverage at the time, almost 75% of our growth was going to come, or is going to come from this community. Snacks, is the same. A large part, a majority of that growth is coming from this community. This community always, they love snacks. And so they've been a very big part of our business, and they will continue in the future. So it is very, very important, that we support the community, both internally, our associates, and externally, our customers and the communities that we serve.
How about for you, David?
Very similar. As everybody knows, Hispanic is really the largest, growing demographic of any size. When you think about the growth in our industry and where the incremental transactions are coming from, it makes very similar, makes up the majority of the transaction growth. So, but it's always been a big part of our business because we always have over-index. So I think our teams do a great job of connecting, with the Hispanic consumer, but certainly it's something that's very high in our priorities as we move forward to continue to be a leader in that space.
I have seen studies that range from 50 to 90% of the future growth, especially the growth piece, coming from the Hispanics. And one important element, as you think about the importance of the Hispanic consumer, is the fact that I think Claudia Edelman told me is now 1 in 3 Latinos marry with a non-Latino. So you look at the numbers per se that are dramatic, doubling essentially the number of Hispanics in the next years. But if you think of the next circle, that is the influencing circle, that's just amazing what is coming on our way. And a great example of diversity I wanted to share with our audience today is that somebody told me that the other day in a neighborhood in New York, Richard, it was a white couple coming out of their house with their baby, with their little kid, and then another African-American couple. And the 2 kids, kind of 3, 4, 5 years old, started to speak among them in Spanish. And the parents don't know it, don't speak it. And the reason was that their nannies were Hispanic. So the influence of this is in so many angles and directions. It's just going to be totally huge, no? This is a question for Mike. Mike, you work for a company that has a very skilled workforce. You need top talent. Why we are not seeing more Hispanic CEOs, Hispanic top executives, more Hispanics in the boards of corporate America. What is your perspective of what it will take to propel Hispanics to the big positions within our corporations?
Yeah, so Jose Luis, the numbers are pretty staggering. So you start out with the number that says that only 4% of executives today are Hispanic across the U.S., right? So not anywhere close to representative of the percentage of the population. I think we've got to be candid about, what are some of the barriers that we're seeing. And, we've just finished up a study that from the Institute of Business Value, strictly focused on Hispanic sentiment. And we found a lot of very interesting pieces that I think some of us may have assumed, but this quantitatively brought some of it to the forefront. So, it starts with the youth. So what does the funnel, or what does the pipeline leading to would-be executives look like? And young Hispanic leaders are not getting the same advancement opportunities as their colleagues. Nearly 2/3 of Hispanic executives that we surveyed said that they benefited from formal mentoring and on-the-job training, as David referred to before, right, in his own career. But only 26 of those junior leaders say that they've got access to those mentorship programs, and only 31% say that they've got access to workplace training today. So without those support networks in place, you're learning via trial and error, which is a somewhat scary place to be. And maybe why only 1 in 5 junior managers say that they feel empowered to overcome professional challenges. So one is just the challenge of what are the opportunities and the support network that they've got. Discrimination is still a challenge as a second reason, right? Bigotry, bias, we've seen it in the forefront of the U.S. over the last year. With respect to discrimination, this survey showed that 88% of Hispanics say that they've experienced prejudice. 44% say discrimination has happened against Hispanics in their workplace. And nearly 70% of those junior leaders say that they have to work harder to succeed because of their Hispanic identity. And for Latinas, take those challenges and it's amplified even further, with 82% of those respondents saying that they don't get the respect that they deserve, and they're paid significantly less than their peer groups. So those are the challenges. Now, what can we do about it? So especially as leaders in the business community, first, it's about creating that culture of inclusion. And I love to hear what David said earlier, and he's living it, right? He's leading from the front, because at the end of the day, you can hire all the Hispanics you want to try and create a diverse population. But if the DNA of the company is not founded on inclusion, then all you're really doing is creating a turnstile of people who are going to come and people who are going to go without any longevity to it. The second piece for me, once you've got that culture of inclusion, has got to be around focusing on the top of the funnel. It all starts with recruiting. It starts with creating an environment where people believe that they can be themselves. And without a nurturing focus at the beginning, it becomes very difficult to hire your way to a solution. As you're bringing those people in, then the third piece becomes advocacy. So as leaders, it's incumbent upon us to make it explicit. It's not a choice. This is what we do. Driving the advocacy from the top, or within the leadership of the organization, creating allies and then advocates for promotional opportunities, supporting formal mentorship, sponsorship programs, employee resource groups. All of these can open doors for Hispanic talent, which then ultimately provide role models to the newer employees, which then leads to the fourth piece, which is opportunity and promotion. So once you've got those first three, now you can start to create a sustainable environment where those opportunities are given, capabilities are proven, promotions are then earned across the organization. That provides the role models, which then provides the aspiration or inspiration for others to look around and start to break this whatever stereotypes there may have been before. So it's not quick, it's not easy, it takes strength and leadership, but I think we've got some great examples on this panel today of companies that are doing just that.
Jose Luis, if I
Yes,
might,
please.
just
Please.
I think Mike's done a really great job of talking about what's possible within the corporation. What I want to suggest is that Hispanics have to be better at networking and being supported by their companies in the broader society, so that they get on nonprofit boards. Therefore, they get seen by people who are potential designating here's the next person, David, who you should recruit into Yum because a board member has seen this person be so damn effective on a nonprofit board. I really believe in this sort of outside in, get seen kind of way, and we've done this at Edelman, in gun control or in ACHE and some other foundation work, such that our Hispanic leaders get seen and get pushed, not just within the company.
A follow-up question to you, Richard, and to Mike. Are you seeing a request from clients to have a diversity represented in the teams that are serving your accounts, in their accounts? Are you needing to bring diverse teams more to the table as you engage with customers?
So I'm going to tell you a happy story and a sad story. The sad story first. We had a pitch to General Mills, and it was for a Hispanic-oriented program for Cinnamon Toast Crunch. And we had a couple of Anglo creatives who came up with a program that lost. And I didn't interfere. I should have. And I have now interfered in the sense that I have said, we are going to have a leading Hispanic creative in the Chicago office. We are never going to lose a pitch like that again. It was just stupid. And we were just inefficient. And so on the positive side, HP insists on a quarterly review of the diversity of our account teams. And it was started by Antonio Lucio, who's a Hispanic CMO, fantastic guy. And he every quarter reviewed. And now he's gone on to Facebook and beyond. But we have been held to account. It's BBDO, Edelman, Digitas, et cetera. And we've all moved our businesses. And I've said, great, if we can do it for HP, we can do it for other people too before they insist. And we might even have better work. So I've used it as a bully pulpit with my people to say, let's move.
But you, Mike, are you having to bring diverse teams to the table as you engage?
Absolutely. So we mimic our clients, right? And our clients are diverse, right? Both geographically as well as culturally. As you look across the U.S., small businesses, medium businesses, large corporations. So as a result, as I mentioned earlier, that point of innovation and bringing diversity of thought and diversity of experience and diversity of culture, that's ultimately part of our secret sauce, right? Part of our differentiation, and doing that in a way that easily communicates and can mimic our clients across the table just makes us that much more effective.
Thank you. David, I would love to hear your take on this aspect, on how we could promote and prepare Hispanics to bigger responsibilities.
Well, on the point of the teams that we work with, obviously from a supplier standpoint, we have criteria, and we're putting pressure on our suppliers, the advertising agencies we work with, like Edelman, to make sure that our teams are diverse and represent our consumers. As far as preparing employees for advancement, particularly Hispanic, I think you have to create programs. Like one of the first things I did when I came in is I elevated the head of diversity and inclusion to Yum this year to report directly to me, to let everybody in the organization know it's important. Then one of the second things we did is we had every single employee in the company make a D&I commitment. Every employee of the organization has a written D&I commitment for 2020, and then they'll have one for 2021. So I'm a big believer in specific actions that show your commitment, that will then ease the way for those employees. They don't have to fight their way through the organization. They're getting a lift along the way. That's the idea. That's why this Unlocking Opportunity initiative, we phrased it as fighting inequality to unlock opportunity. I originally thought about calling it Unlocking Potential, And then I started thinking about it. That puts too much burden on the individual. That means that somehow they're not realizing their potential. They're realizing their potential. We're not giving them the venue to play to demonstrate that, which is why the focus has been on unlocking opportunity. But we do other things like the Hogan assessment tool, which some of you may be familiar with. We typically would, it's an expensive tool, and we put somebody in the program, and we would typically do that at the director level. We've taken our higher potential underrepresented minority candidates at lower levels, and we administer that tool because we know the tool correlates to advancement in the organization, just as one example of another action we would take to help facilitate.
That's great. Marissa, you come from a company whose two most recent presidents have been diverse, one from India, one African American. And before them, it was a chain of mainstream Caucasians. What do you see is the formula to propel diverse leaders to those positions?
Well, first and foremost, what I said before, when you make diverse initiatives part of the core business initiatives, you realize that in order to be successful, you need a diverse workforce. You need people that understand how to make products for diverse communities, how to move those products to diverse communities, how to sell them. So the more it becomes part of your central core business strategy, the more diversity just by nature comes. That's the first piece. But secondly, I think, and you guys have said it, there needs to be championship and sponsorship of Latinos, but active sponsorship. We get, and I have, my personal experience, you get over mentored. Everybody tells you what you should be doing or coaches you, but that's not what makes the difference. Is somebody in the company placing you in the right positions. And it's usually not a Latino, right? It usually is somebody that doesn't look like you. And, I have to give a shout out, one of my biggest sponsors and mentors is Al Carey. And Al Carey, was our head of North America, somebody who passionately sponsors Latinos and puts Latinos in the right positions. And, once that happens, then it's like a snowball effect, right? We bring others with us, you get visibility, you give visibility to others. So I have to say, the business combined with that sponsorship of the C-suite, right? It needs to come from the top and then it integrates throughout the organization. That is absolutely, absolutely critical. And until we truly give action and place the people in the right roles, we're not going to see, the kind of progress that we want to see.
As you drive the inclusion in your teams of diverse talent, one very common barrier is that you hear that there is not sufficient talent, that the team could not find the diverse candidate to fill one position. I just want to share with you that when I was in charge of a piece of Latin America, we were asked by the corporation to lead a major transformation in diversity and inclusion, and we picked gender in Latin America. And we found that only 10% of our management and directors and CEOs group were female. And we were the worst in the PepsiCo world. We started trying to change that, and for 2 years we were spinning the wheel, but then we adopted what I think in the States is called the Rooney Rule, and is for every position open, you will have one diverse candidate. No questions asked, no excuses, and we just adopted that rule across the continent. When I left 5-6 years later, we had 33% female, and I checked recently, Marissa, I think they crossed 40. And now the leader in charge of Latin America, that is the largest, most profitable business for PepsiCo internationally, more than Asia and Europe combined, is a lady that came out of that program. So, and I am so happy to see Marissa representing such a big portion of the Frito-Lay business. So it was truly transformational. But the key point was that frequently you hear there is not sufficient candidates to fill this position. How are you battling that? David, maybe Mike?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that frustrates me more than that, and I have heard people say that, you got to be quick to cut that off. I think the biggest challenge you have is where do you look for candidates, right? If you look at an all-male school, you can say, well, there's no females, there's no good female candidates. If we look at the same places for candidates and we come up with the same kind of candidates, you're not going to have the kind of diversity. So with just a little push to look in new places and look in the places where the candidates are, and the thing I found most effective is just networking with the right people. Richard will know I'm always reaching out to him because he's very well connected, and asking him for some names and candidates for any position we have open, and just building a different network to go after these candidates, looking in different places. I would flip it around. There's more candidates of color because they haven't been given the opportunities, and it's a great place to hunt. And it's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about it. We're in the talent business, and talent doesn't really know any color.
That's great. Mike, what do you do with that?
For us, number one, you measure what matters, right? So we are constantly focused on measuring, and as part of that process, as we look at executives and promoting executives, we have top talent identified, similar to what David again said before. We've aligned, to pick up on Marissa's comment, we've aligned allies and sponsors for that top talent, whether they be underrepresented minorities, Hispanics, females. And then as we promote into the executive ranks, we're constantly pushing on where are we, how much progress have we made, who are the candidates, and as we're reviewing those candidates as a team, constantly pushing on where are the underrepresented minorities, where are the females, and as a result, we've made progress. We still have a ton of work to do, without a doubt, as I think we all do. But it's certainly moving the needle, and we're continuing to make progress as we go.
That's great. Richard, you touched on the power of networking and extending your relationships across. You reminded me of the initiative that probably I am most proud of during my time in Chicago with Quaker. I sponsored 30 young executives, managers essentially, very diverse, to go into NGO boards in the community. It cost us $1,000 per manager. $1,000. Can you imagine the power of that experience for a young manager? Can you imagine what it would have done for you when you were just focused on your task at hand, and suddenly you started to build the whole corporation and knowing people and connecting? That was transformational for many of the participants. But to that point, Richard, what other practices have you seen that could be implemented to support that extended networking in the emerging diverse talent?
Well, Jose Luis, I would say that we should be looking at putting diverse talent into World Economic Forum programs where we lend somebody for a year and work on a specific project on sustainability or whatever it is. We should also be looking at lending talent to, for example, the city of Chicago, where they're really trying to come up with a business strategy for attracting companies. And, we need to look this broad, not this narrow, because our Hispanic talent should be running companies in the next 10 years. And if that's the case, they need to have the David Gibbs kind of vision that he got because he was pushed, and Marissa the same, and Michael the same. And so we got to repeat and rinse and learn and push.
He wants to add to this. Is that okay? Well, let me move to the last question. Unfortunately, we have very little time. What advice would you give to our diverse talent audience today as they prepare to take on bigger responsibilities? What would be your advice? What do they need to do more and better? What they need to avoid doing how would you coach them? Can we start with Mike?
Sure. So for me, it starts with, don't be so humble, right? We as a Hispanic community are very humble, right? To the point that people don't know what we do, right? We've got this work ethic that's undeniable. We've got a culture that is keep your head down and keep doing what you're doing. And eventually good things will happen, right? But in some cases, you need to make the good things happen for yourself. And the way that you can do that is by letting other people know, right? Within my organization, we created this term called humble bragging, right? Which is not to say I'm constantly saying, hey, look how great I am, look what I'm doing, but just a little bit of letting people know what it is you're doing and what's the successes and what's the progress that you're making. And you combine that with mentorship and allyship, and good things are bound to happen.
Love that. Humble bragging. I'll steal it. It's my new idea. David?
Yeah, I very much agree with what Mike just said. I think some of you may have even seen the statistics, at least on when it comes to women. Women, very often think they're not ready for a promotion compared to a man with similar experience where 100% of the time they think they're ready for a promotion. I think that, there's a little bit of that going on here as well when it comes to Hispanics. Because they don't see people in the jobs that look like them. It's harder for them, for women or Hispanic or anybody, to envision that if there's not somebody that looks like you, it's harder to envision you there. And so I think the confidence piece of push for the more responsibility, all the other advice that I would normally give to anybody, about how to be successful in a company is to just do all the work that people don't want to do. You make your boss look good. Try to start doing the job ahead of yours before you're even in it. But I think, specifically for Hispanic candidates, there's also this issue of mentorship. I think it's great to have mentors that look like you. But I think it was something Marissa was saying, I think is also important. You need to have mentors that are totally different than you, because they can help you navigate the environments that are going to be foreign to you. So I wouldn't just say I need a mentor that is Hispanic and just went through the exact path I went on. You need another point of view.
Marissa?
Yeah, I need to jump on that, David, and just build, because so many times when I mentor young Latinos, they tell me, I don't see anyone that looks like me in the career path that I want. And my answer is, don't use that as an excuse. You can be the first and then bring others with you, right? And the key is, you got to partner with allies. You got to first see their point of view and then bring along, your uniqueness and your magic. And I will tell you, and I keep pounding on the numbers and the business case, but it is so important. Latinos need to understand their own business case, because if you do, all you have to do is state it, and the proof is in the numbers. We need Hispanic talent to succeed with the Hispanic community that is driving the large majority of our growth. It's all there. They just need to learn how to articulate it and take that business case to be, the fuel that gets them there. Plus the sponsorship. They need the sponsorship too, but they can certainly create their own case and their own destiny as well.
Richard, I will let you close the session with your wisdom.
Look, Jose Luis, I think Hispanic executives who are ambitious should try to get involved in solving some of society's big problems. I think that we are going to have hunger over this next 4 or 5 months. We're going to have poverty. We're going to have a problem of persuading people to take vaccines. And please volunteer and put yourselves in leadership roles and be willing to speak and be willing to be public about it, because it's going to be business filling the void left by government that's confused everybody about, is it safe or is it right to go back to work or all this? And Hispanics actually know, because they're the frontline workers and their families are the ones who are keeping us fed and keeping us, healthy, et cetera. And so we need you to be out front, and we will make you heroes if you are willing to be so.
Wow. I have truly enjoyed the conversation with you guys. I will invite all of you to go to the bar across the street. I will see you there and continue the conversation. But for now, the public part will have to stop. I just want to leave you with one last story from my career with PepsiCo. There was another janitor at the Frito-Lay headquarters, Marissa, and Roger Enrico and his staff were visiting. And this janitor, talking about taking charge, Richard, he went to Roger and said, Mr. President, I have an idea for a Cheetos product. What is that? It's a spicy Cheetos. You can do it Spanish style, and it can be a great success. Thank you very much for the idea. They went, and then in the boardroom, Enrico asked him to come and present the idea to the whole team. And one guy asked, what market share do you think we can capture with that? And the guy didn't know what market share was. So he said, I think you will sell like this, you know? I think you will sell this much with his hands, no? And the rest was history. They created the Flaming Hot Cheetos product that is the most successful extension of the core product. And this gentleman, Richard Montañez, is a very inspiring speaker now, inspiring the Hispanic communities. He's a tremendous force of nature. So taking charge, Richard can take you many places. So I really thank you for your participation today and your wisdom, and especially for your commitment to the Hispanic community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.